Hey guys, and welcome back to Grounds Family Farm. Well, today is the first of many canning adventures for this year, actually. As y'all saw, we went and picked peaches the other day and had to let them sit and ripen on the table for actually 2 days because they were not all quite soft enough. This one's still a little firm in places, but it'll still be fine. But we are going to make some peach jelly. We initially thought we were going to try to do some peach pie filling and that kind of thing this round, but I think we're going to wait and do that maybe next go round because we will be going back for more peaches. But I figured I'd take you step by step through the process, let you see exactly what we're going to be doing, all the steps we've got to take. It's really not that hard. It's just a little labor intensive on the front end, getting things started, and then also like squishing it out into the jelly and that kind of thing. But we prefer jelly over jam a lot of times, and so that's what we're going to try to do today. It really won't be too bad. I actually don't have to peel these, which I was shocked, and I'm really happy about that because that's a lot less work not having to peel all of these peaches. So first step, I've got the rest of them in the sink and about to put these over there, and we're going to rinse them all, and then we're gonna have to cut off all the bad spots and pit them. So I'm gonna bring you along and let you see all of this. Okay, so there's my sink filled with peaches. I've already got these sitting in some water so I can kind of clean them good, and then I'm going to put these over here, dunk them, all that good stuff. But I just went ahead and filled up one sink for now, and gonna make sure they're nice and clean. Since we don't peel them, especially, the skins do need to be clean. And then after that, like I said, we're gonna transfer them over to the main part of the bar to be able to actually cut them up and do all that other stuff that we need to do with them. So on these, what I'm doing is just taking this soft vegetable brush. I cleaned that bowl out, don't worry. But I'm just taking it, rubbing it all over. See, this is going to have a bad spot to cut out whenever the time comes. So I'm just taking this brush, scrubbing it all over, and then putting it into my bowl. And then I'm going to transfer them over to the main part of the bar onto a towel when I'm done. So I'm just working quickly because there's a lot to do. This process is just getting started. Some of these they're not really overripe, they got bruised and bumped around a little bit in transport, so after they sit for a couple days they kind of deteriorate just a little bit when they've gotten bumped and bruised, because peaches are a little bit fragile. If you've ever worked with peaches, you know, scrub everything off of them that needs scrubbed off, so it will be just fine. I'm spending a little extra time in like these deep grooves, the ones that have the deep grooves, just to make sure I get them completely clean the way they should be. So the recipe I'm using today is actually from the Sure-Gel website. That's what we tend to go off of if we're making any kind of jellies or anything like that, because Sure-Gel is what we're using and it works. But what it says to do is to pit the unpeeled peaches. I couldn't believe it at first, I had to reread it. But I've got to pit them and then finely chop, or we're not going to grind the fruit. And then put them in a saucepan and add some water, which is not a lot of water. but that's okay. So I'm going to also remove the bad spots as I do this, and I'm going to keep this bucket here to put my pits and any of the discarded pieces in, just so that it's not everywhere. And I tend to cover every surface with a towel that I'm going to be working in, just because fruit's sticky and I don't like having to deal with it. I may still have to mop the floors and all that when I'm done, because usually I do, but maybe not. We'll see. And I'm just gonna slice it up and then kind of chop it up a little bit and put it in my pot there. This was a good one, didn't have any bad spots, so that was nice. But as you saw when I was washing them, not all of them are the same way, like this one. That was the only bad spot on that one though. When the peaches are ripe enough, they're really not too hard to pit. That's the good thing. And I don't think that they have to be teeny tiny pieces on this, because I mean, you're gonna be boiling it down, and then you're also gonna be squishing it through the cheesecloth after a little bit. So I mean, you obviously want all the good out of it you can get, but I still don't think it has to be super fine. And probably while they're cooking down, I'll work on some supper, because we haven't eaten yet. Came home and got ready to work. And Kevin and the girls were out doing chores. Go ahead and get that knocked out for the evening. It's easier to peel the bad spots off first and then worry about the rest of it. So finally, those are all cut up. That was a long process. It's now 7:40. But I had to do some quick math to figure out exactly how much water I need in each of these pots, which I also need to wipe down a little bit. Man, that's heavy. This one and this one, based on the number of cups of peaches that I actually got. So on the recipe, it is listed as about 6 pounds of fully ripe peaches. Well, you got to convert that to cups, which it says 2 to 3 cups, so I did closer to 2. So what I came up with is I'm going to need 5 cups of water for this and 2 cups of water for this one. So I'm going to rinse this out, put my water in each of these, and then the next step is to bring them to a boil. Then you reduce the heat down to low and cover and simmer for 10 minutes. You stir occasionally. And then after that, we've got to get some cheesecloth and work on the straining process. More about that in a little bit. So now, before I put this on the burner, I'm going to wipe all of it off. I really need to wipe the bottom off too. And okay. There's that. I had to wipe both of these down really well because I don't want my pot to burn from peach juice and that kind of thing. Okay. And using these towels definitely means that there's less cleanup for me, because I can just throw these in the washer and not have to worry about it, and then I can toss those. I don't throw them in the trash can because I don't want to attract gnats in the house, because that's one of the things that I hate the most is gnats. Gnats in the house, not something I want to deal with. I will still wipe the bar off in a little bit because it can get sticky. All right, got both of the pots on the stove. They're on high right now. Once they boil, I'm going to crank them down to low, let them simmer for about 10 minutes, and then we'll start the whole process with the cheesecloth and all that good stuff. Got my water bath canner over here. and got it cleaned up and everything earlier, half full of water, warm water, but there's not enough room on the stove for all 3 pots. So it's just gonna have to wait for a little bit, which we'll still have plenty of time for that. Okie dokie. First batch is ready to be strained. So I took 3 layers of cheesecloth like it said to do, and I actually used rubber bands to put them around this bowl here. I'm going to try to dump as much of this on top as I can. It's got to strain through. And it's not going to be a quick process on this really, because it's got to, we want everything out of there that we can possibly get. Uh-oh. That was a rubber band. One of my 2. Thankfully I put 2 on there, but... Alright, well, it's kind of slow process. I'm going to do it a little differently than what it said. This is a little bit smaller batch right here. That's okay. I let it sit there, and then now I'm kind of squishing it just a little bit to get the juice out, but maybe a smaller quantity will strain a little faster. Then I can squish all the juice out of that and then just take it and discard it into this other bowl and then just continue, because that big pot, it's maybe a third of the way empty now. I'm just listening for and hearing it drip. When it stops dripping, then I'll go ahead and get the next batch. This one is dripping a lot because I just put all that down there, and there was a lot of juice in that one. I tried to do it kind of their way and tie up the cheesecloth and just let it hang and squish it and all that, and that's pretty hard when it's this warm, so I figured this was better for the way we're doing it. It's not dripping anymore, so get those out of there and put some more on. Yeah, it's gonna take a while. I did lose a rubber band on this one earlier, so I just took another one and fastened it around there. It's because they're so stretched out from these really big bowls, but big bowl is kind of a lifesaver for stuff like this. It doesn't fill up near as quickly. Alternatively, you could use the food mill and kind of grind it down a little bit, kind of juices it a little bit better, and then just run this part through the cheese, run just the smaller pieces through the cheesecloth, but didn't pull that out today. Okay, now I'm to the part where I actually get to make jelly from all this juice. This is almost completely full, plus I have some in here. To make a single batch, what you do is you take 3.5 cups of juice and then you stir in 1 box of the Sure Gel. I am going to go ahead and double this for each of these pans because I've got a lot of juice, but I'm not going to go past that just to make sure that we don't do something weird with it and it not turn out the way we need it to. So I'm going to put, since it's 3.5, that would be 7 cups. So I'm going to ladle 7 cups into here, or make it to 7 because we were already at about 4.5 or 5. But it said exactly, so I want you to make sure that it's on the line. Okay, that's good. That's 7 cups in here, so I'm gonna put this 7 cups into this one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put another 7 cups in here, just to have it ready where I can keep this going. Could probably use a measuring cup to dip this out a little faster, but it would probably also be messier. And as you can tell from the window behind me, it is dark. It is 9:20. This is a long process, especially if you've had to work all day long, like I did. It's just part of the deal. When I start getting close to 7, I'll look a little closer, and I can already tell I spilled some juice on the floor, so I'm gonna have to mop when I get done. That way I don't have a sticky floor tomorrow, because nobody's got time for that. I'm glad that I'm almost done with this. I would say my least favorite part was the juicing process, because it was the most tedious. Took the longest as well. I'm gonna go ahead and ladle up another 7 just so I've got it. When I get down a little bit further in this bowl, I'll pour it, but I don't really trust myself to pour it right this second. And I've got my canner boiling on the stove. I'm gonna put my jars in there in a little bit to go ahead and heat them up good. I've washed them, but I just need to stick them in there. That way I don't have a jar break or anything like that whenever we start processing, because that would be tragic. I've done that with green beans before, and that's disheartening for sure when you lose some. Oh, my hands are peeling now. All right, well that's probably, hopefully just one more batch of this. So each one of these will be 2 things of pectin. So let me go ahead and set this to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and put my 2 boxes in here. I went ahead and pulled this one out earlier. There's one. My box somehow got a little wet earlier. Kind of left all my stuff out. I figure while this is processing, I can be working on cleaning up. Okay, that's 2. And then we need to add butter. It's said to do a 1/2 teaspoon per batch, so that'll be a whole teaspoon of butter. And then you bring it to a rolling boil, and you're supposed to stir in sugar. It'll be 9 cups of sugar per thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure out my sugar real quick and get my butter. Kevin went to the store earlier and got some sugar for me, thank goodness, because I did not have enough to make this if he had not done that. So I'm gonna put this in here because we don't need it just yet. It'll be once it comes to a full rolling boil. So now I need to add my butter to this and then put it on the stovetop. So I'm gonna make sure we stir this frequently, that way nothing sticks. The butter should reduce or prevent any foaming, so that's good. But it's gotta come to a full rolling boil before we can add all that sugar to it. In the meantime, I need to grab these arms on this canner, the ones that stand upright. Go ahead and push them out, and Yeah, sterilize them a little bit and make sure they're nice and warm. Once those have sat for a while, then I can put some more in. Come over here and stir my juice. This is the part where it gets a little trickier because there's a lot more going on at this point. Don't want it to stick. Had a slight mishap and didn't get it on video because I had it paused so you wouldn't just be sitting there staring at, you know, watching juice boil. But I had Kevin stirring it for me and my other pot decided to start boiling over the top. So I had to upgrade to my big one and now having to heat it back up to a rolling boil. So it'll be just a minute before that's ready. I'm gonna prepare some more jars. All right, we've got a full boil here now. So I'm gonna pull my spoon out for a moment and pour all of the sugar in. That's our 9 cups of sugar. So what you do here is you return it to a full rolling boil and then you're supposed to boil it for exactly 1 minute. So now it's just trying to melt all that sugar down into it. It's looking pretty, I will say that. All right, the sugar's all melted into it now. So now it's just gotta go back to a boil. I'm gonna get some space ready because I need to pull those jars out ASAP. Okay, it is boiling now. So that's a full boil, so set my microwave timer for a minute exactly. And then we're gonna take it off and it's gonna go into those jars. Super duper close now. I'm gonna try to go ahead and keep everything going pretty quickly so that it's not such a long drawn out ordeal all evening. I'm gonna have to wash this in between each batch just because it's the only one I've got that's this size, but that will be fine. Okay, so I went ahead and changed out my pot for this smaller one. That way I could go ahead and get another batch going on the stove because it is getting late. I know it's late, but I'm trying to get this done. And I know this is not the best ladle for this, or the best funnel for this, but it's what I've got. Okay, that's got some foam on it. Get rid of all the foam. So that's not what goes into the jar. Okay, so now I can start filling jars. Yeah, as I said, this is not the right funnel for this, but I'm not real sure where my other one went, so it's just gonna have to work. And you want to fill within like a 1/4 inch of the tops. Now to the next one. And we have some of the little 1/2 pint jars too, but I'm just sticking with the pint jars right now. And I did turn the heat down some on my water bath canner because it's supposed to be a gentle boil when these go in. And it was definitely a full-fledged rolling boil, so needed to tone itself down a little bit. Single batch would definitely not make very many of these. Okay, So now I'm going to take a wet paper towel, wipe along the rim of these, because if you don't get them good and clean, your jar lids aren't going to seal. Make sure, I know we've dripped juice on there, so I want it to all be gone. Okay. So I'm gonna put my lids on top, and this was in some nice hot water before. While I was waiting on it to get where it needed to be. Okay, so here's my rings. Now make sure those are on there good. Tighten them down good. I have to use this to hold them because that jelly is hot in those jars. Now I'm going to put these in the water bath canner. Nice and easy. Okay. I've got to make sure that the water covers them completely. If not, I'll have to add some super hot water to it to make sure that it's enough. It's crazy. That first batch with all that sugar made 6 jars. That's insane, in my opinion. Okay, I think that needs to have a little bit more water in it. Okay, it needed more water, so I had to add that, put the lid back on, that way we can get it to a boil. And that's got to boil for 5 minutes on a gentle boil. And then at that point, we'll pull the jars out and put them on a towel to cool. And then hopefully we'll hear lots of lovely little pops as they all seal. Well, finally finished. It's 11:37 and I started just a little bit before 6 this evening, so it's a long process, but look at all of this jelly. That is crazy. There's 24 pint jars and 7 little jelly jars. And I love that noise. That's wonderful. I've been hearing lots of crazy pop in here lately, so that makes me feel better. I love just knowing that they're sealing because it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, especially if it takes a while for them to start doing that. But I didn't want to bore y'all with the exact same thing over and over and over again, plus I was making supper in the middle of all that. But basically I just did double batches until the very end, and then I was able to make a single batch, and that finished it up. And Kevin had bought 2 packages of pint jars for me today. I have more put away, but we'll use them, and it'd be hard to get to them right now too, just because I'd have to get some from up in our shed and some that are in some of our other cabinets, and when this needed to be done quickly, and this was the easiest way. And the jelly jars, those were easy to access. But really glad that this is done. I'm exhausted. The girls are already in bed. Kevin's been hanging out, staying awake with me, keeping me company and giving me moral support because, yeah, I've been getting a little frustrated, a little tired, but it's all okay, and I'm just really, really happy that this looks so pretty and hoping it tastes really good. Hopefully it gels too, because I honestly didn't even think about testing that. So if we have liquid jelly, whatever, it's still gonna taste fine. But I'm gonna wrap it up for now because I want to go sit down. I haven't sat down since I got home today. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time at Grounds Family Farm. Bye guys.